All right, I am so excited, so honored to have Adam here on the Move Happy Movement podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
No, thank you, Erin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I always love to tell, our listeners and those that are watching on the YouTube channel, how I connect with my audience. And, I happened to have a networking call yesterday with AD, and he's super rad. And he told me you're a part of his community and he's really proud of the music that you're about to release. We'll talk about that in a bit. But that's how we connected. So people need to get on LinkedIn and make those connections. So
Right.
yeah, so thank you. For those that, and I'm learning who you are too. For those that don't know your background story, whatnot, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about the origin story. Like, how did you get to where you're at right now?
Well, I guess it's not really a long story, but I guess if you want to start really from the beginning, I guess ever since I was a child, I've always really, I guess at the time I didn't really know it, but I always found some sort of sense of enjoyment performing on stage. And,
Hmm.
when I was younger, and I didn't realize that's something I really wanted to do. And then, fast forward, just, make it quick, fast forward a few years,
Uh-huh.
around I think 2009, around the time Michael Jackson had died, I really got
Yeah.
into like being an impersonator, and then slowly transitioning to being a contemporary style dancer, to switching over to doing music. And I mean, that's kind of like the rough synopsis of how of my story in terms of that. But really, in terms of the music, it was really until I watched the Behind the Music, because back in the 80s, there was a lot of really uh, amazing R&B artists that were coming out around that time. Specifically, Bobby Brown was one of my biggest influences on that tip, especially because of the Don't Be Cruel album.
Mhm.
And I think I also got really attracted to wanting to be an R&B artist because of that, because seeing all the massive amount of success that he got, on top of just the charismatic attitude and his danceability and just
Yeah.
his raw grit that he had. And I think that's kind of just on top of Michael. I think that Bobby also kind of like made me want to do this as a want to make it a career on top of everything that I've kind of experienced.
That's
So
so rad. Yeah,
it's
that's
not.
rad.
And when I say Bobby Brown, not a lot of people really throw his name out there when it comes to saying R&B. They'll usually go to the normal suspects, but I usually give credit to him because it's just like really sort of like, as Michael is for me was more dance, and then Bobby was more the music aspect. So it's
That's
kind of like
awesome.
always whenever people ask me a question, I always just kind of throw them out there, and it kind of throws people a curveball when I do, but I do.
Yeah, no, that's rad. So, and you mentioned you kind of blew right past it, but I want to dive back to impersonating.
Yes.
You were, so where was this, Vegas, or where was this at?
Well, so, around the time, like, I think it was a few months before Michael Jackson had died when he announced his
Yeah.
final concert tour. I kind of like, I think I latched on, and I found that I really wanted to, after going online and seeing people start doing impersonations of him, and then I started kind
Yeah.
of getting into it, and then I
Yeah.
started obviously doing like what everybody does, to look up tutorials and how to do
Yeah.
the moonwalk, the different gliding moves he does, the
Uh-huh.
different
Uh-huh.
choreographies. um, and I just kind of got hooked. And I ended up doing that for like 5 years, made some fun connections with people all over the world. And then, I went over to, Vegas for a second on the strip, got some easy money doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and, that kind of was really like, I guess you could say the I'm trying to think of it, the gateway to me wanting to do this. But yeah, as far as I don't always like go too deep into it, but I would say it is a foundation for me that made me who I am. So, I always got.
That's so rad. I love that. I love that. And random fact, coincidence. So my brother is big in music as well, and he got to do some dance lessons with one of Michael Jackson's choreographer
No
trainers.
way.
Yeah, he taught
Which
him like
one?
I'm not sure the guy's name. I don't think he mentioned it. My brother's very like introverted. He keeps
Okay.
up to himself kind of thing, but
Okay.
that's a cool connection there. Yeah, we might chat
Oh,
after the
I
show
gotta
stuff.
definitely tell him, ask him for me, and I'll probably know who it is.
For sure. Yeah, you probably worked with the guy too, so that's cool.
No, no, I didn't. Unfortunately, when it comes to the impersonation, I didn't get that far in meeting those types of people. But
Yeah,
I
not
did.
yet.
No, eventually, yeah, sooner, soon. Trust me.
That's
But
awesome. I love it. So you went from the dance side and then you decided to make the switch to more performing musical
yeah,
side.
music side.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so let's dive into that. So who got you interested in being a performer? Mom and dad performers, singers?
Um, when it came to that, like I kind of said with the when I was a younger child, I didn't
Huh?
realize at the time, every elementary school when you're a child, they always have these little talent shows and stuff.
Yes.
My bro, and at the time, I was very, I mean, I'm still close to my brother nowadays, but at the time, whenever I wanted to go hit the stage, I always asked my brother if he wanted to do it, and I just
Uh-huh.
something about it, I just really liked it, and I didn't know at the time that that's really what I wanted to do. Because if I look back in hindsight, I would have been doing music back then if I knew that's what I wanted to do. But as a child, you don't know, and I think that's kind of what I mean. My mom and dad, they never really like pushed for it or
Hmm.
anything like that. I mean, but they were never against it either. It just was obviously I wasn't really. I never really desired to be like, oh, this is what I want to do. So my mom didn't
Hmm.
really push for it. So it was kind of more like me finding my way. And then
Yeah.
just funny story because of also how I came to be with, on top of what I told you earlier, is
Uh-huh.
that actually I had worked at Disney World actually. So
Okay. That's cool.
so you'll find it kind of silly actually on how this came to be. It wasn't because I just worked at Disney. Well, basically, at the end of the sometimes at night, Buffalo Wild Wings, they would have little karaoke nights, and I just kind of like one day I just kind of just wanted to do it for fun. And
Uh-huh.
I sounded terrible back then, but I will say that actually going on stage, seeing people having a good time, and seeing people enjoy what I was doing, just
Yeah.
even if it was crappy, I would just say that I really something about that just kind of got me hooked, and then from there I just kind of didn't stop.
Wow. So what did you do in Disney World? Was that
Disney,
the Buffalo Wild Wings? Was that connected
no,
or?
yeah, no, that wasn't connected at Disney, but I mean there was, obviously the Buffalo Wild Wings is just everywhere at Disney,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I at Disney I did the college program. So I did that from the fall advanced, those are the spring advanced program where you're there from like August to January to no I'm trying to think, no, January to August.
Okay.
And there I did two different things. Actually, I did a few different things, and actually really developed a lot of skills for me.
Mhm.
Different job things. But I did. I'm trying to think. It's been a long time. I did. I worked at Pinocchio's Village House, where you're just based like a little pizza place. And then I
Uh-huh.
went to the back of the kitchen, and then I learned how to serve like wine over at Epcot. So I mean,
Yeah.
the Food and Wine Festival, which by the way, once COVID is gone, and it's okay. I mean, it's technically okay to go travel, but I'm saying once it's a lot better. Food
Yeah.
and Wine Festival is definitely A1, and I'm
Yeah.
saying that because I work there. The food is amazing,
Yeah.
and Disney doesn't spare no expense when it comes to their food. So
Yeah. Maybe we could get some sponsors to organize
yeah,
something for
we
you.
can organize all that stuff, right?
That's awesome. I bet you learned a ton working for Disney
I
as far as
did.
being a performer.
You get to see, it's funny because actually you get to see a lot of like the characters, and
Uh-huh.
you get to see just the people that I don't know if kids watch this, so you get to see all the your wonderful characters in what
Yeah.
they love to do. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, and another connection for us, I think your friend that introduced us is a magical person because on the other side of the US, I got to perform in high school. I just had a great high school choir teacher and we got to perform on stage inside Disneyland on the other Disney side. So that's cool that we both had that connection as
we're
well.
from California.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I'm from Washington, so we got to go down on a choir trip to go down there and perform and did some competitions against
okay.
the California school districts and
Oh
whatnot.
wow. So that's a real challenge when you're going up. So that's something I always wish when I was growing up. Why I wish I was very more interested in music then than I am now. Like
Hmm.
because I would have enjoyed to go on competitions and stuff like that against other rival schools, but I never, obviously that didn't end up being the case.
I think it's like it's good and bad. Like it's just it is
Right,
what it is, what your experiences are. Like I was a part of this group, but because I was a part of this elite group, we got to tour around and perform and it was awesome. But part of my childhood was taken as I was having to be an adult and
right.
what I mean, like
Have
we
to
did
work.
Disneyland and we were working, like we were behind, behind stage, like we were working there, but we didn't get paid. But it was like I wouldn't throw away those experiences for anything. But it's
Right.
it is what it is. Your experiences are what helps shape you and direct you into your
Agree.
career path, and you can make a shift in a moment. And you mentioned, let's go back to the talent show. So you reached out to your brother.
Yeah, it was back in elementary school. I think I was in first grade or second grade, and
First grade. Wow.
I don't remember the song, but I know my brother. I don't know why I always like to include my brother in everything that I did, and he wasn't really interested to do stage performances or nothing like that, but I was because it's something that I don't know. I just like I said, it was something that I couldn't really describe. It's just
Yeah.
something I saw that I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed it when I did it. And I just guess I
Yeah.
didn't know at the time that's what I really wanted to do.
That's awesome. And now, just because I'm curious, is your brother older than you or younger?
He is older than me by like 2 years.
So same. I introduced my brother, who's the guy that got to do with the dancing with Michael Jackson's trainer and stuff. So he's 2.5 years older. So a lot of synergies.
All
And
right.
he did not sing in choir till after we did a talent show duet together.
Oh,
He was in high school at the time, and I was in the junior high. They had seventh through ninth grade, so I think I was in ninth grade at the time.
interesting.
Yeah, and he loved after performing. He was so introverted, and he still is, but he loved the affirmations from the audience and all the attention that he got.
Yeah, right,
So then
right.
he joined choir shortly thereafter. So, yeah, it sounds like we're a lot of similar
We're very
personality.
similar, which
We're yeah. Now, does your brother still performing too?
no, my brother never was. He never did performing.
Okay.
That was something he did for me. I mean, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, I mean,
Aw.
he's more like very much like I wouldn't say business, but accounting and different
Uh-huh.
things. He goes, he actually, speaking of my brother, is that he actually lives in California right now.
Okay.
He doesn't live here anymore. He moved because he felt like if he was going to be stuck inside doing stuff on the computer for
Yeah.
work, he'd rather just be stuck in a place that's warm. So he ended up moving to California
Makes sense.
like about a month ago. So
Oh,
uh,
wow.
yeah, so very recent. And that's good for me more anything because since he has a place up there, I don't have to pay for a hotel in Glendale like last time.
Exactly. There you go. It's all about our
Well,
network.
good. I'm in a good relationship with my brother so that I can do that.
That's awesome. I love that. All
Yeah.
right, so we know your history, we know your origin. Let's dive right into our first pillar of Move Happy is all about keeping a positive mindset. And I mean, as you imagine, being a musician, being a performer, a dancer, it can be challenging. It can be tough. For those that, might be either performing now or thinking about getting into the performance space, what are some tips and strategies that you can help them out with keeping a positive mindset when they might get turned down from an audition or things like
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you've been doing this, I'm going on like almost 10 years at trying to do this. And, I've heard a lot of the no's and the criticisms when it comes to you sound like, crap or whatever like that. In this sort of thing, the most important thing is never to give up
that?
and quit because you're going to hear a lot more no's than yeses. Now you might get lucky and get more yeses than no's, but obviously that's not everybody. And it's in with the amount of people that you meet on a day-to-day basis, people are going to really tear you down and make you feel like you're really nothing, and
Yep.
tell you need to quit, stop. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's just a time old story for any artist. And I would say just try to keep a positive mindset, have good people around you, and
Yeah.
just try to, I guess I would say not take everything to heart with what everybody says, because if you really do, it can eat you alive. And, I've
True.
been, a victim of that where people would say a lot of those nasty things and other things. I don't want to say on this type of camera, but I'm saying
Yeah, yeah,
because I don't know, as some people have this fascination with wanting people to fail and not want to make something of themselves. And I don't know why people like to do that, especially with what's going on nowadays. I
yeah,
just think, like, you know, I think people just need to be, I don't know, a lot more kinder and
yes,
when it comes to stuff. But to answer that question, I would say people just need to, if they want to do this and they're really serious about doing that, and they're a year in and they don't really see as much progress, it's just about continuing to grind, continue to keep going,
yeah,
and no matter what anybody says, you just keep keep the momentum of what you really want to do. And I mean, if you feel that you want to give up and not do it, then obviously maybe this wasn't your career path. But I feel
hmm
like for someone like me who's really kind of been slammed through the mud with a lot of negative comments from different people, I would say that keeping your head up, having like you said, positive support system,
yeah.
uh, it's extremely important, especially if you want to do this.
Yeah, I think and you raise a lot of good points too, like especially like with COVID and everything, we're doing a lot of stuff online and people can comment on your videos and if they're saying negative things. You just kind of brought to mind too. Actually, this was something my brother mentioned to me. I don't know why I keep bringing him up, but there's a lot of synergies with it. But he mentioned a lot of if you know the demographics of your audience on the social media platform like YouTube, many middle schoolers are on there. So the negative comments might be someone that's in sixth
Right.
grade. So like know your audience and know where it's coming from. I think is really key to understanding like they're still a kid. If they're saying
Right.
bad things, they probably are surrounded by a bunch of negative adults, or they're watching other negative videos and thinking that that's acceptable behavior. So
No.
kill them with kindness
Dealing with
right off
kindness,
the
that's great. And I wish people would use that more.
Yes. Yeah, I agree 100%. So great tips on mindset. Second pillar of Move Happy, you touched on it a little bit, is about building strong communities. As we're well aware, having our social network is really key to helping with our mental health and keeping a positive attitude, or on the opposite end, a negative attitude and more depression if we're surrounded by people that aren't helping us focus on getting to the next level or focused on being positive and getting to our dreams and things like that.
Mhm.
So I'd imagine, being in the musical space and the performance space, it can be challenging sometimes. Like maybe you have I know for women, there's a lot of like catty behavior that can happen. Um, what are some tips and strategies you've learned? What are some things that maybe you'd like to warn people about or help them out with in like making sure the connections they're making are going to
Mhm.
help them, you know what I mean? Like get to the
Oh,
next level.
okay. So when it comes to this sort of thing, I would say, especially if you're inexperienced, it's very hard to tell who's actually going to help you and who's not. And on top
Yeah.
of that, you see a lot of stuff online, which is they go pry on the naive artist to try
Yeah.
to help them. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm going to talk from personal experience that I have spent quite a bit of money when it comes to this, for people saying they're going to make your dreams come true, or telling
Mm.
you it's gonna, if you pay X amount of dollars, we can get you where you need to go. Which a lot of those, just keeping it real, are scams.
Yeah.
And you have to, not saying that you don't have to put money in to make money, because that is absolute fact, no matter what you do, especially if you're trying to do the arts. However, if you're going to spend the money, do your research on the
Mm.
person that you're doing business with, because I'm
Yeah.
telling you that some of these people are leeches and they will suck you dry.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's so
it's
true.
just, your brother would know 100% what I'm talking about,
Hmm.
because it's just, I've dealt with multiple people. On top of that, it's also not even just people that suck your money, your wallet dry. It's also people that suck your time dry.
Yep.
And when there will be people that will promise things, and I'm not going to name names, but I will say that there has been somebody or a group of people that
Hmm.
have promised that, because originally I didn't say this, but I was supposed to be a part of something, a bigger situation, and basically They kept promising this thing was going to happen. Lo and behold, 4 years goes by and nothing happens, and they're still stringing us along. And I just finally cleaned my hands of it, and I was just,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Whew,
And
you're
going
speaking to me
forward,
right now.
every single, yeah, it says every time when it comes to that sort of thing, I'm usually someone that likes to give people chances, but I think
Yep.
that at the point in my life, very thankfully I'm in where I am right now. But sometimes,
Yep.
you worry about whether these people are actually going to come through, or they're just going to be another one of those people that are just promising things that don't happen.
Yep.
And I think that for people who are going to do music, and that are interested in trying to get their career further, just be careful on who you trust. Do
Yeah.
your research. Make sure that their background is clean as far as that. In terms of actually what's their success rate on who they've actually gotten to go where they need to go. And
Yeah.
on that, sometimes you also have the one other scam artist that will have that one success story, and they'll just kind of eat off that, and they'll basically just
Mm.
pretend that they can get more things going for other people,
Mm-hmm.
but they actually can't. And it's like they had that one success, and then they just assume they just use that to get more people in, and then that one success, they'll never get that again. They just
Mm-hmm.
basically try to call, like, I would say, get, like, I'm not trying to find the right words, like cattle call, like get all these people in
Yeah.
one like box of people, and
Yep.
then they promise things are going to happen, and then nothing happens for any of them except for maybe
Yeah.
one person. And it's just very, sometimes that can be a little discouraging, but overall, I mean, like I said, just do your research. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I say, again, just like the other thing, you got to keep going at it, and
Yep.
eventually find the right people that will want to help you. But
Yes.
it's not that sometimes it doesn't take long at all. Sometimes it takes like a few months or a few years. So
Mhm.
that's just food for thought on that front.
Those are great, honest, authentic. I feel it too. And you were speaking to my soul too, because I've been through some of those things myself personally. And I know with my brother being in the industry full time, like he went through some real bad, deals in the music industry. And it's the rumors are true. There are plenty of scammers out there because it is a business, it is an industry, but they also have certain people they want to be in the light. So they'll buy you out and sign a contract and then shelve your music, and you're not allowed to publish any of it. So there's some scam artists out there. So definitely do your
And I
research.
just and I just want to preface something, because a lot of people don't really talk about this, because it's, even though I'm going to be under an indie label situation,
Mm-hmm.
they've formed their connections, and they've been in the game for a while, so they have a lot of
Uh-huh.
connections from back then.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody that's watching this video has ever got approached by a label of any kind, don't necessarily push them out, but
Yep.
talk about the situation, because I will say this: major labels and stuff are still important in a way. And the reason I believe that is because not only do they have the budget and the
Yep.
connections that you
Yep.
may have,
Yep.
just before you sign that paperwork, that's all I'm
Yeah.
going to say. Before you sign the paperwork, just look into them. What's the success with them?
Yeah.
And if they're right for you, because just
Yeah.
because they might dangle $100,000 contract in front of your face, you might be tempted to take it.
Yeah.
Maybe you get your $100,000 right away, but
Yep.
at the end of the day, you're thinking about royalties. What cut are you going to get? There's a whole
Yep.
bunch of stuff. So I threw that in there real quick. We can
Yeah.
do a different topic. I just threw that in there
Yeah.
because I don't want people to think that labels aren't still somewhat important,
Absolutely.
or try to get a distribution deal with one of them. So that's even less of an issue. You're just going to be in their ecosystem, and it will actually help you get your song more noticed. So just kind of threw that
Yeah.
in there because I forgot to mention it.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's great advice too. Yeah, so just do your due diligence and make sure you're associated with good people, or leave if you realize they're not really good for you. So great tips. So third pillar of Move Happy is about movement, of course. It's related to where I started the program was in a psych hospital, so we had no budget. So, but we
Right.
know the importance of moving our bodies helps with our happiness level, and we don't have to use a lot of equipment, though we can. But it's all about finding what works for you, what's your most enjoyable is going to one of the things that will help turn it from a habit behavior into a lifestyle. So with
Right.
that in mind, what are some of your favorite ways to move? I know you talked about dance.
All right.
Is that
Yeah.
your favorite?
Not as much anymore,
Okay.
but I will say that in terms of that, I mean, exercise is key, especially if you want to stay in shape. It's important. So
Yep.
I mean, I have a little home gym at my house. So I mean,
Okay.
I use that, do my 30-minute exercise, and I feel really good, internally by me doing that. On the
Okay.
mental side of things, it actually really clears up a lot. It's also uh, it's the good thing about having a little home gym is that, even though I live at home, going downstairs and that 30 minutes is just my time for me to really focus in on myself.
Yep.
So I say, if you can, if you have the funds to have a little home gym, or you don't even need that, you can, if you have enough space, you can make ways to work out at your house and really just
Yeah.
breathe. And with the weather getting nicer again, you're able to go out for a bike ride, just kind of like find ways to as someone who himself, sometimes self-confidence and different things like that kind of weigh down on me when I go exercise and go for a run, or ride a bike or whatever. it,
Mm-hmm.
it really helps keep my focus and also makes me feel much better about myself internally. So
Yeah.
people who should, that's my recommend, to keep, like you said, keep moving. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the best recommendation I can give. So I would say always go, if you feel any sort of depression, go out for a jog. You'll feel probably 10 times better than you did when you did if you didn't.
Yes, I love that. And you mentioned home gym, 30 minutes. Do you have a structured routine that you have, or
Yeah.
do you change it up each time?
What I would say is that, a lot of people are in nowadays, especially, are always looking to lose weight, or whatever the case is. And I usually have a recommendation on how to do that, because there's three things I would use to get things going. But in terms of the workout front, I usually power walk on my treadmill for about 15 minutes, and
Hmm.
then I will do 3 sets of planks. I will
Mm-hmm.
do uh, I have like a bigger 25-pound weight, and
Mm-hmm.
do I'll do 3 sets, but I'll do like in total 6. So I'll do two times a set, and I'll do either 10 to 15 times. And then what I'll do is I'll hold the weight, and then when I'm like almost like, I'll get up, and then I'll do like a few, like I'll do 10 like or 15 twist and turns, which you basically
Uh-huh.
do your core. And then I have
Yeah.
a pull-up bar at my house, and then I'll just redo that set, with the exception of jogging, because I already did that. So
Mm-hmm.
usually about 30 minutes, and I usually find my weight is usually maintained. If not, if depending on how active I am doing it, say I do it like I usually do it every other day, but I
Uh-huh.
need to start doing it. I want to try to start doing it like, at least 4 times a week if possible, if I
Mm-hmm.
can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually the way I stay in shape. You
I
know,
love it. I
it
love
works for me. Now everybody's
Yeah.
body is different, so I
Yeah.
can't really say, oh, my solution works. But I guess you could say
Exactly.
everybody should try what makes them feel like they're getting the most efficient exercise.
Exactly. Yeah. And you tie right into, what science recommends as well, as far as, cardio, 30 minutes, muscle fitness, you got that in. I didn't hear flexibility, but I'm guessing you do some sort of
I
stretches
do,
when you're
I do
done.
stretch. I do my butterfly stretch. I'll stretch my one leg out, and then I'll bend the other leg to the right. I do the
Hmm.
stretches. Okay, so I'm not going to just jump on to going there, because of course I am 28, so luckily I don't have those problems quite yet, or I'm going to have to deal with
Yep.
having to be sure I stretch at least like 5 to 10 minutes before I work out. But
Mhm.
I get my arm, I'll twist my head a little bit side to side, just so I can make sure I get those muscles, because people actually should do these, but a lot of people don't, and they
A
forget
lot of
that they
people don't. Yeah.
need to stretch their neck out.
Hmm.
I'll do a nice little 2-minute stretch before I start working out. I don't like push myself so hard at the beginning. That's why I do the power walking, just to get my body warmed up.
Yes. And that's good. That's key. Warming up first.
Right.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. As long as you're enjoying it and you're doing it consistently, you don't have to do it every day. And that's the magic of it, right? Is
Right.
moving to help our mental health, moving to keep us confident for the stage when we're performing, whatever our goals are. So I love it.
Right.
Um, so we talked a lot about your story. We talked about, you shared some great tips and strategies on positive mindset and building community and your favorite way to move. Let's talk about you. How can we support you right now? What are you really excited about that you want to promote?
Right. So while these songs are starting to get recorded today and everything, they should be out by the summertime. But
Awesome.
in terms of what you can actually support right now, You can actually go support my song "Still Believing Forever," which I'm sure Anthony has shared with you, and
Hmm.
you can find that on Spotify, um, iTunes, all the major digital platforms. It's doing
Uh-huh.
relatively well. So if he sent you a link to the song on Spotify, please send that out for all your
Yeah.
listeners there. And if you want to follow me, you can actually follow me on my Instagram, which is at adamm_official, and that's also my Twitter handle as well. I'm
Okay.
trying to be more active on Twitter, but I'm not as active as I would like to be. And also, it's the same thing with YouTube. It's under Adam Music, so it's ADDAM. I think space music, because there's
Yeah.
no spot for that. It wouldn't let me do that. So you
Yeah.
can really find that's how you can support me in terms of that. And actually, I'd really, if your listeners out there are watching and they don't know this, if you really want to support me, go purchase the song on iTunes for the 99
Yeah.
cents. I would really appreciate that because again, people don't realize this, and I always mention this, and this is something that I wish people do more than talk about it. So I have about 117K in streams on Spotify. That's a lot, and that's good for a resume. But in terms of actually making money, it's not what people think it is. It's good. It
Yeah.
looks good. It definitely looks good. But I'm saying if the supporters really want to help support
Yeah.
me, I would always recommend, supporting on iTunes. And I always say
Yeah.
this, right? You go to McDonald's and buy some French fries and nuggets, but you can't support. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about all the artists.
Yep.
Back then, yeah, well, piracy was a problem. Streaming wasn't a thing. People were still physically buying it on, even before
Yes.
CDs. But when you transitioned to iTunes, people were still purchasing it, and it was people were able to make an honest living off of that. And if
Yeah.
115,000, 17K people bought my song for 99 cents, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because
Exactly.
I wouldn't even be worried about anything, as far as
Mhm.
that part of it. So I'm saying if you want to support me, definitely link them to the on iTunes store for Adam. You'll
Yes.
and that will definitely help.
I love that. Yeah, we'll definitely put the links in the comments when we air this on Monday. And I always love to close out the show. We've gotten pretty personal, I feel like, but I like to close it out with something to help them connect with you on an even more personal level. So I'm just like pulling this out of left field here. All right. So you were singing on stage at this talent show, but you didn't remember the song.
All right.
So what's your go-to karaoke song?
Go-to karaoke song, man. Honestly, I don't. When it comes to karaoke, because I haven't done it in so long, I usually like to sing something from like NSYNC or something like that. I think
Yes.
I
I'm
don't
so
know.
glad you didn't say Backstreet Boys.
No, I know. Like Backstreet Boys. I mean, I grew up with their first album, of course, when it came stateside. But I
Uh-huh.
didn't. I was more of an NSYNC guy. You know what I mean? And I
I was
got
the NSYNC
further.
girl.
I was more. Yeah, and it's the one regret I will say is because when they were still relevant and popular and still
Hmm.
performing. I'm 28, but I remember when they came to DC like twice. I remember when they came to DC and No Strings Attached. But at the time, it's not like today where you could be open, you're dude and you'd be openly saying, "Oh my God, I love NSYNC." Like you couldn't do that back
Yeah,
then
yeah,
because
yeah.
I would think it's a little strange
Hmm.
for you to be, into groups. But for me, like as an adult, now it's one thing. It's like I wish Justin would get back together with the group so they can go
I
to.
know.
But he's still a residual holdout. He's still a residual holdout.
I
But
love that. So no strings attached, you think?
No strings attached. I mean, when it comes, it's funny enough. I'm more like their first album. The "Tearing Up My Heart." I want you.
Yeah.
You know, like I like a lot of those. For the girl who has everything, I really like that song. But
Yes.
not a lot of people really talk about their first album like that. They always go straight to "No Strings Attached." I'm like, you should really talk more about the first album because that one has more of my favorite songs on it. But
Yes. That
I
means you're a true fan.
oh, absolutely, and I wish they would get back together for at least one more song.
Hey, maybe they will. Maybe with COVID, online they can do a little collabo or
Right.
something.
But yeah, no, I mean that's my go-to karaoke
Awesome.
artist and songs that I like to pick from.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Adam. This has been super fun. We'd love to have you back on the show for follow-up sessions, see how you're
Sure.
at in the future on your journey of being a performer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I will say this: it hopefully in the summertime, and that project is actually out around that time, which that's the goal. And I'm hoping that is end up what ends up happening. um, then we'll definitely have a follow up, because I will
Love
say
it.
that this has been an awesome little radio interview. It's very professional. I have to tell you real quick, and I want your listeners to know this is very professional.
Aw,
Like, not a lot of background noise. Really key in on just focusing on the artist and everything that you do.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking to you again.
Yay.
And so definitely text Anthony and tell him that we spoke. And I want to say that I really enjoy your show,
Thank you.
that I'm now a part of. So I
Yes,
appreciate it. I look forward to the actual interview when it airs, and all that stuff. So thank you so much.
thank you.